Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. I am dreaming of a white Christmas, and unfortunately where I live I have no snow yet, so I have to use my Snowman DIYs to bring that winter feel into my home, and I have several Snowman DIYs to share with you today. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. If you like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up, but let's go build some snowmen. For this project, you just need a blank picture like this. Now, this originally had some writing on it. It was from Hobby Lobby, I believe. I bought it at the clearance. I had painted over it for another project, but I'd never used it, so it's perfect for this. And I have these two little different grapevine wreaths, these two different sizes. And I've seen these at a couple of like the craft shows that I've been to recently, and even some boutiques. So I thought it would be fun to make my own little snowman. And I'm just using some scrap wood for the snowman's hat. I'm just going to paint these with some black paint. Now, this little brim is just a piece of a painter's stick, and then it's just a little piece of scrap wood from like one of those Dollar Tree planks that you get that come like 5 in a package. Now, to embellish my little snowman here, I want some cute little bells. These are just some rusted bells. You can take some regular bells that you may have, spray them with some adhesive or put Mod Podge on them and put some cinnamon on them to rust them up. Soak them in some vinegar to do a rust technique that way. I actually bought a container at the craft store of just rusted bells because I use them a lot in my Christmas DIYs. So I thought it would be fun to have some just on hand. I just took 2 of them and I just tied them together so that way they could dangle from what's going to be like the belly of our snowman here. And I'm just using some hot glue on the back of this wreath. I wanted to attach the bells before I put the wreath onto my background because I just wanted to make sure that they were attached really well, and the twine that I was using, like the knot, was hidden behind it, so that way when I glue it on, you don't see that at all. Using quite a bit of hot glue, I go around my wreath here 2 or 3 times to make sure that I have a sufficient amount of glue that's going to touch the surface. You want to pay attention when you're using the grapevine because sometimes the glue will seep down into all the crevices there and you won't have a lot that touches your surface. So just make sure when you're working with something that has a lot of gaps and crevices, such as a grapevine wreath like this, that you make sure you have enough glue that adheres the surface and what you're gluing down. So just kind of eyeballing the spacing here to make sure I have enough room for his hat. I place that on so I can kind of see what I'm doing, and then I glue on the head. Now, to pop up the hat, I didn't show this and I apologize for that, but I did put a little square block behind it to raise that up. And you'll be able to see it a little bit as I go on through the video how it looks, but I just thought that the dimension on the hat looked really cute. That way it wasn't so flat. It kind of comes out over his head. You can see the gap there. I really loved the look of the dimension of that, so it worked really well to have that pop out. Now, instead of a scarf on my snowman, I thought it would be fun to do kind of some florals, some pine boughs here. Make it look really festive, almost like a great big bow tie, I guess, of all of these different Christmas foliages here. These are just scrap pieces that I had. So just take a look at what you have in your Christmas florals. Maybe you've got something that would already work really simple for this. And I just did the same thing on either side, so it was really symmetrical, and just kind of went for things with different textures, different tones, different colors. You could be as colorful as you wanted this, or have it be as neutral as you wanted with this. Now, a lot of the greenery that I was working with was a plasticky consistency, so I did switch from hot glue over to Beacon's glue, so I wasn't melting any of the florals that I was using. So just keep that in mind, that Beacon's glue is amazing. Now, I did just tie a little bit of gingham ribbon here into a shoestring bow, and I'm just gluing that down with some hot glue. I'm leaving the tails a little bit longer so I can kind of maybe have them ripple down over the wreath here, and I do dovetail the ends. You just fold it in half and cut up into a V motion or V shape there, so that way you can see you have that really pretty dovetail end to your bows. Just using a dot or 2 of that Beacon's glue, I am just placing it on the grapevine wreath and the ribbon and pressing the ribbon down so it has a rippling effect, so it looks like it is just free falling over the snowman's belly, but that way we have control of where it is, so you can still see those bells tied in the middle. It's not going to fall down. And I do the same thing on the other side, just making sure to have a couple of little bends in the ribbon, so that way you have the natural looking ripples. Now I have this little tag. It's just from a set of Walmart tag ornaments, and it just says Joy on it. I loved the colors, and I thought it was just a cute little embellishment, like he's just holding on to a cute little tag to give someone there. Now I want to decorate his hat. So I have this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree that has print on it. And I thought it would be really cute to kind of cut this down to size, so that way it matches the size of his hat. It's not going to be too overwhelming. And I am just, since the hat is popped out, I can just fold each of those sides around and glue it onto the back, and then just leave a little bit of enough space so you can tuck some greenery down in there. So I'm just using a little bit of glue, and I just do a couple little sprigs there of some leaves and some berries to have it look like his hat's really festive. And I'm just placing a little red jingle bell right there on the front. And I had a little bit of the ribbon that I had used on his bow tie, so I just kind of folded that over like it was just kind of a little sash coming out of his hat there. And I just thought it looked really cute. You can be as fun and add as much embellishment as you want, or make it as simple as you want. Now I'm just putting a little bow on the tag there, and I decided that his hat was really black, and so I just decided to brighten it up a bit with a little bit of white paint on my brush, just dry brushing over that to kind of brighten it up. And that makes our little snowman complete. Isn't he just the cutest? I love how this turned out. I think that it is very farmhouse and rustic, but high-end and classy at the same time. I think it's beautiful, and it would be a great addition to anyone's Christmas decor collection. What do you guys think of him? This DIY was inspired by an ornament that I saw at one of the local craft stores. It was this cute little snowman, and I thought it would be perfect to use these Dollar Tree cubes on. So I just take 3 of those, and then using some wood glue and some hot glue, I just clamp them together just to kind of get that really good hold on these. And I kind of make them a little bit askew. That's how the ornament I saw was, and I thought that was really super cute to kind of give definition. I had these little pieces of scrap wood that I'm just going to cut down to make a little hat out of, but you could easily do this out of anything else that you have, or even another sign or some of the wood pieces you get from Dollar Tree. It was just a couple little pieces that I had. And then I had a little bag of these stars that I recently got. I bought a big bag of a bunch of wood pieces at a garage sale, or a yard sale, and so I'm just using the heck out of all of that stuff. So I'll just color the hat, or paint, not color. We're gonna paint the hat black, and then as you saw earlier, I did paint my snowman in whatever color of white that you have or you want to use, and then I am painting these little stars white as well. And then I'm just taking another one of these stars, and I just kind of cut one of the little points off of them to paint orange for my little carrot nose, but whatever you'd like to use to do that would work fine. I also sanded the edges to kind of give it a very distressed look, and then I'm going to go around with some antiquing wax on all of the edges, and then I'll just kind of brush that on and then lightly wipe it off with the baby wipe, just to give a little bit of a stained look and just a little bit more definition. I do the same thing with the hat, just go around the edge with a little bit of antiquing wax on my brush, and then just wipe it off. Just again, it just kind of makes the wood look a little bit, I mean, honestly, it looks like toasted marshmallow to me with the snowman with the white and a little bit of stain on there. But anyhow, so I will take the little stars, I'm going to use those as buttons for my little snowman, and I'm just going to kind of sand the edges down. And then just using a little bit of hot glue, I just stick one right there on his little tummy, and then I go ahead and put the other one on the next little block there for his little tummy there. So cute. It's kind of starting to come together. What do you guys think? I don't know. I was really skeptical about how this would look, but I absolutely love it. So I just decide which side I want the hat to go on, and so I will just glue this on top of his head, again just using hot glue, and then I will glue the top portion of his top hat on there. and then just kind of center it as best you can. I don't really measure a lot with it when it comes to centering things. I kind of really like that skewed look. And then his little nose, just a little bit of hot glue. And honestly, you could stop right here and just leave this guy like this. He looks absolutely darling without a face painted on, but I thought I would try and paint a face. And you guys hear me talk about all the time that I never freehand anything, and you may see why here in just a minute. You'll have to let me know how I did. But I put some little eyes on there, just dipping the end of my paintbrush into my paint, and then I do kind of make them a little bit bigger because I want him to have a bit more fuller eyes. And so I kind of I'll go back in and put a little bit more. You can use a dotting tool to do this too, but the end of your paintbrush works just fine. So there's his eyes. So far we're good, but here's the smile. So I do the first little part of my smile, and honestly, it would have been cute if I had just left it like that, but I thought, oh, I'll make it a full curve smile. And again, guys, I am not a painter. I don't freehand a lot. Well, I don't detail paint, but his smile ends up looking okay, I feel like, but it is definitely just kind of a little bit ski-wampus. But it's definitely cute and definitely homemade, and I absolutely love it. So I just put a little bit of those little dimple type defining features on the end of his smile there, and I think the face turns out pretty okay. You'll have to let me know what you think. But I take a little bit of Dollar Tree ribbon and I cut it down because I didn't have any of the exact size to fit onto his thing, and I wanted to add a little bit of evergreen into his little hat there. So I just glue each of the ends of the ribbon down here. This is pretty self-explanatory, just using some hot glue and wrapping that around, and you just cut it to size. You could even make like a little scarf for him if you wanted to, if you'd rather not decorate the top hat, or you could do both. And then I will just glue on my little evergreen there and just add some little berries to it. I think this turns out super, super cute. I just take a gold acrylic paint marker and just touch up where the styrofoam shows through. That's just a hack for you guys. If you ever have the styrofoam peeking through on your berries, just take the same color marker and touch it up. But what do you guys think of him? I think he turned out so cute. I am absolutely in love with him. And he was so easy to do. I'm going to take some of these tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, and we're going to make some cute little snowman ornaments out of them. So I'm making 3, so you need 6 blocks for each one that you make. So I took 18 blocks, and I'm going to paint 12 of them black. So I'm going to use these for the cute little snowman's hat. So I just paint them all over, and then the remaining the remaining 6, I just paint white. Now I love to distress things, so this is totally optional, but you just go ahead, and I wanted these to look pretty vintage and aged. So I just go around each of the edges. This took a little bit of time to get all of these edges because these are so small, but it actually ends up looking really, really cute. So I do the same thing to both the black and the white. Now to make the snowman's face, I'm just putting some glue on the side of one of the white blocks and gluing it to another. And I just repeat this process through all 3 snowmen here. I love to do things in 3s and ornaments that are easy like this. I have 3 kids, and so I feel like if they were ever to divide these up, or if I wanted to tie them to a gift, they would each get one. So now I just glue all of the black blocks the same way, so in pairs, so on the side to side, all in groups of 2. For the hanger, I'm just using some twine, and this took a little bit of trial and error. I tried to glue this between the 2 blocks, but it left a lot of bulkiness in between the 2 blocks, so I couldn't get a good seal. It didn't look clean or nice. So what I've decided to do is I'm not tying a knot in this at all. I just put a little glue, I let it dry so it's tacky, and it's kind of just warm to the touch, and then I will just use my finger to kind of get a good seal on the end of that twine, so it makes it like a nice thin point. You can just see how I do that. Make sure, if you're at all sensitive to heat, either skip this step or do like the finger protectors or anything like that. But I do that to all 3, and then I'm just going to put a little glue on the back of one of the hats in the little crack that's there from where the 2 are glued together, and I'm going to place that down. Now I was just going to go with this, and then I was like, that really doesn't look super clean. We can probably give it a little bit more protection and make it look a little bit nicer. So what I did is I got some craft sticks or popsicle sticks, and I just cut a couple little rectangle pieces off. You can see when you cut them, they go flying. And I thought, okay, this is gonna fit over this perfectly. I just paint it black so it matches. You can distress it, you can do whatever. And then I just use that to glue onto the back to cover up where that you can see that twine. So it just kind of masks it a little, has a little more finished look, and then it's also there as an added layer of protection so it's not going to rip out. So now I'm just going to paint some cute little faces onto the snowman. So using the end of a paintbrush, I just dot a couple eyes, and you can get as creative as you want. Use a paint marker, you could use a Cricut, you could, if you're really good at painting, you could, I'm sure, make some darling little faces on these little snowmen, but I'm just using some dots because I feel like I can't mess those up too badly. So I just do 2 for the eyes, and then I do 5 for the mouth. And that first one, I didn't really do the dot like right in the middle of the snowman, but on these other 2 I did, and I like how that looked. But you can just play around with it and do what looks best to you. For the carrot nose, I just took the remainder of that popsicle stick that I had used, or the craft stick, and I just did my best to kind of cut out some type of shape that resembled a carrot. So kind of like a longer triangle with rounded edges. So you can kind of see, or however, I did my best. Carrots come in all shapes and sizes. So I'm sure that, and if sometimes, actually, I was at the craft store the other day and I saw that you could buy like a little bag of actual carrots, like in the bead section, like they're like little beads. So those would work perfect too. But be creative. Use whatever you want. If you have like a little star, cut like the little points off of the star to use. I've done that before. But I painted them orange and I put some little ridges on them with a pencil, and then I'm just gluing them on. Now you can have them overhang the edge if you want. You can see that there's like a little short nose, there's a long nose. That just makes them so much fun. So now I'm going to glue the brim of the hat on. So I'm taking 2 more of those black blocks, the ones that do not have the hanging tag on them, and I'm gluing them flat, as you can see. And then I will take these other 2 and glue them upright to that. So that makes this cute little hat for this snowman. Now the fun part of this is that you get to embellish the hats or make them, you could leave them just like this. They're totally cute and fine like that. But I thought it was kind of fun to make each of them just a little bit different. And so some of them I put some ribbon around. So you can see the one up in the upper right. I did a little bit of that birch ribbon from Dollar Tree. This is the same ribbon I'm using in my Christmas tree this year, this stripe ribbon. So I thought I would tie this in with that. So I just wrap it around, and then on this one I decided to take another little piece of that ribbon and make a cute little scarf around him, like he's staying warm. There's endless possibilities of things that you can do. Since he doesn't have much of like a neck to tie this around on, I'm just putting a couple glue dots on the little corners in the front to fold each piece of the ribbon over, and so that's going to help it stay. And then you can also put one in the middle of the ribbon to help it kind of stay closed. And then I cut a little fringe, and I'm just fraying it with my finger there. This is how I'm cutting the fringe here on both sides. And then I just take my finger and pull some of those threads away to make it look like it's got that cute little fringe on the end. So for the next one, or actually I'm still doing this one here. I just thought it would be, let's see, which one am I doing? I don't know. I do all sorts of things to each of them, but this one I'm just putting a little bit of the greenery and just cut a little end off of that. I think that came from Dollar Tree, that greenery. And I'm just going to glue that on with a couple of little berries. You could do some cute little bells. You could do, again, the possibilities are endless. So you can make these as fun as you want and some different things. So when I do berries, I like to do them in groups of 3, because I feel like that's kind of more of a natural thing that you see them in. So just keep that in mind. Don't overdo it with the berries. A little goes a long way with those. For this next one, I do a little bit of paint on one of these little wood snowflake stickers from Dollar Tree, and just put some glitter on it to kind of give it a nice little shiny look. And then I glue that onto this little third snowman's hat. What I did do this one in the middle, I forgot that I did this, but because I left him kind of the way he was, because he had a scarf, but I ended up taking some of the little jingle bells that I have. They're like rusted bells. I picked them up at JoAnns this year. It's like a garland, kind of comes like the pipberry does, but I decided to wrap those around, and it kind of just gives a little bit of like a textural element to him. So you can kind of see up close there, the little jingle bells that are sitting there. Kind of breaks it up a little bit and gives him something fancy. But look at how beautiful these are. I think they're so cute. They're gonna be so fun hanging on my tree. And again, if I decide to tie them on a gift for one of my kids, I've got 3 of them. And it really didn't take much more time doing 3 of them than just one of them. What do you guys think of these little snowmen?
I love using pizza pans from Dollar Tree to make signs out of, and they always turn out so cute. So I've decided to do one with my snowman theme, and I found the cutest little SVG off of Etsy. I'll leave the link to it down in my description box that I thought fit perfectly. Now, my trick to painting on pizza pans, I always get asked tons of questions about this, of how I get it to work, and there's a few different ways. So the first thing I do well, the first thing I would recommend is sand it a little bit with your sandpaper so your Mod Podge and your paint has something to adhere to. So I am just using Mod Podge here, and I do one thin coat. I let that dry completely. I walk away from it for like an hour, let it dry, come back, and then put another little coat on it. You want them to dry completely because this is what your paint is going to stick to. And just 2 small thin coats, and that makes sure you get the coverage that you want. That's at least how I do it. After that second layer has completely dried, you can do one of 2 things. You can spray paint, which I do recommend. However, I got snow where I lived this week, so I had to chalk paint, and I'm just doing thin layers. So you can just see this is my first layer here, and then I go back in with my second layer. If you choose to do this way or have to do it with your chalk paint, it's going to take you about 7 or 8 layers or coats of paint. This is 8 coats that I did of just thin layers. Now, I did get this little decal off of Etsy. I did use my cutting machine to cut it out. A lot of times you'll be able to find some people who sell circular that fit, actually, because these Dollar Tree pizza pan signs are so popular. You'll be able to find sellers that will sell the actual decals that they've cut out that they'll ship to you. I do have tutorials on how to print on tissue paper if you don't have a cutting machine. So there are several options that you can use. And so this is how I like to peel back when I do my transfer papers. I like to peel backwards like this. I feel like I have a little bit more success with that. Sometimes if you guys have worked with transfer paper, you all know that it's not all created equal and it does not always work like you want it to. So now I am just lining this up as best as I can. I'm not one that measures a whole lot, but I do kind of look at those circles on the top and the bottom and just kind of gauge where they are with the sign. Now when I'm pulling this back, I'm just being very careful. You can kind of see there was one little area there that the paint did start to come up. I just pushed it down and rubbed it down, and that paint went right back down. And then I just am very gentle as I pull this off. If there's ever an area that does pull a little bit of the paint off, you just go back in and touch it up after. You just have to be very delicate doing this process. Now, one thing that I love to do with vinyl is it kind of has a shiny feel, a lot of it. Even if you use the matte, I still do this, is I go in with a dry brush and brush over all of the vinyl. I think that gives it a nice little aged look, a weathered look, and it kind of dulls down the sheen that comes from the vinyl that you're using, and I feel like it just makes it look more stenciled, and I just really like how the look of that is. I think this sign is absolutely timeless. I think it turned out so beautiful. Honestly, I mean, Frosty and Snowman are always going to be relevant when it comes to decorating for winter and Christmas time. I mean, seriously, think about it. Snowmen are never going out of style. When it comes to Christmas decorating, they're always going to be around. And so I really feel that this sign is just elegant and timeless. I think these little cutting boards that you're finding at Dollar Tree right now are absolutely adorable. These are found in their crafter's corner, kind of in the unfinished wood stuff that they have. I've seen them at my Dollar Tree several times. Actually, a few of the Dollar Trees that I have been to over the last few months, I've seen them. So hopefully you've been able to find them at yours. If not, I always just tell people, just keep checking. They'll eventually come. And always check dollartree.com also. But remember on dollartree.com to ship to your store. It saves you a lot of money instead of having to pay shipping to your home. Now, that being said, all I'm doing on this is I just paint the bottom portion white, and I go up the handle just a little bit, and then I'm painting the rest of the handle here with black. And the black covers really good. This is just chalkboard paint. I only needed to do 1 coat on that. The white, I did have to do 2 coats. And then I'm just taking a paint stir stick. This is one that I had used. I'd cut the end off for another project. I just cut it down and I just eyeballed the size. I'm making this cute little snowman, and I just wanted this to be kind of the brim of his hat. And so I just eyeballed it. I don't have an exact measurement on what I did. I just laid it down and kind of went, that looks like a good size, and that's where I cut it. So I just kind of wanted a little ski wampus there. I thought that looked kind of cute there, and just using some hot glue, I put that down on the cutting board itself, and then I just glue that little brim of his hat right down there. And you can kind of see it coming together hopefully already. And I did just get a little bit of smudging on that black, so I just kind of went over it with a little what was left on the brush there to cover that up. Now I have these half beads. These came from Amazon. I can link them down in my description box below. And these are just kind of a smaller size, and I thought they would be really cute to kind of look like pieces of coal for his eyes and his mouth. So I'm just going over them with some black paint and just making sure I get all of the edges and everything. And then on another paint stir stick, I am just cutting out a carrot nose, and I'm just kind of going from the end and cutting in towards the center at an angle, just like the shape of a carrot. And it just cut very easily with my scissors, and I was able to get that shape out. And then I did go in and sand it a lot with my emery board to get rid of any rough edges or anything like that. Next, I just glue with some hot glue the eyes and the mouth on, and I just kind of space them out just by eyeballing it. And on this cute little carrot nose, I'm just using some orange paint to give it that carrot color. And then after I get that completely covered, I want to make some little ridges on the carrot just to make it, give a little dimension, make it look like an actual carrot. This is just some mineral chalk paint that I'm using with just a little flat brush here. And you just kind of, just what looks good is what I'm doing. You could completely skip this if you were a little bit afraid to kind of go in or do this, and I do like a couple and then a grouping of 3 and just kind of offset them all the way down the edge of the carrot. Now after that completely dries, I go back in with a little bit more orange paint and just kind of cover them to dull them down so they're not quite so stark, and that way they look a little bit more like they're part of the carrot, if that makes sense. I don't know. I always say if that makes sense, but hopefully you can see what I'm showing there. Sometimes I can't find the exact words that I want to use. And then I'm just going to use some hot glue on the back of this carrot, and we're going to glue it onto the face of our snowman. This cute little wooden snowflake came from a pack of wooden stickers from Dollar Tree. I just cover it with some white chalk paint, and then after that dries, put some Mod Podge on it, and I put a little bit of glitter on there. I just thought that would be kind of a fun little thing for this little snowman's hat to have a shiny little snowflake there. This little piece of holly came from a pack of 12 from Hobby Lobby, and then I glue that on, and then I glue this cute little snowflake on the brim of his hat, and I thought that was just the perfect little embellishment. I just think this little snowman turns out absolutely adorable. He would be perfect for a tiered tray or just anywhere you wanted this cute little snowman to smile back at you. I love picking up signs like this at the craft stores. These particular ones came from Dollar Tree. It doesn't ever matter what they say because I'm always going to make them over. So I just peeled the paper back, and it leaves a little bit of this backing that's been glued onto this. And these are not the wood signs from Dollar Tree. These are more like of a composite material. So I just spray them with water and let them soak for a few moments. And then you'll see that this just peels right off. And even though like the top layer kind of peels off, as you can see here, if you spray it again and let it sit for just maybe another minute, you'll be able to take your scraper, and as you see, it will just scrape right off of there. It's kind of actually pretty satisfying getting all of that off of there. It is a little bit sticky with the glue, so you do just want to wash your hands after so you don't get glue on everything. The shortest of these signs was about 10 inches, and I'm going to leave that as is. I won't be cutting that one. It will be the bottom of my stack here. The next one I will cut down to 8 inches, and then I cut one down to 6 inches. And then that left a little piece off of the one that I end up putting on the top that is 4 inches. So I just go down 2 inches on each. So there's, if that makes sense, hopefully you can see that there's an inch on each side. Now my top 2 tiers of this little snowman stack that I am making, I will paint black. This is going to be the hat portion of my snowman, and I'm just using some chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree. One coat did very good coverage on these, so I didn't have to do that. I'm just using some white chalk paint here on the bottom 2 stacks. It did take about 3 coats to get the coverage that I wanted. Now I just need to glue my little snowman face together here, so I'm just using a combination of E6000, super glue would work too. You could probably even just do hot glue since this won't be getting probably a lot of use other than just sitting on a shelf. I just thought I would make it a little bit more of a permanent hold if it fell over or anything. I don't know. I just thought the E6000 added a little bit of an extra bond on there. So that's up to you. I know a lot of people comment that they cannot stand the smell of E6000, which it definitely has an odor, but it doesn't bother me too much. Anyhow, I'm just gluing this all together here, each stack, just making sure that I get it so it's all even. And then I have these little wooden discs. I got this in a package. I bought a big box of craft material at a yard sale. However, be creative. If you find something like bingo chips or something like that at the Dollar Tree, use something like that. You could even just use wooden half beads or something if you happen to have those. Be creative. Anything will work. Now I'm just taking a paint stir stick, and I am just using my scissors to cut out a carrot nose, just kind of a triangle shape. And as you saw, my scissors cut through there pretty decently, and so I was able to get that shape. Very rustic look, which is what I was going for. I'm going to paint my carrot orange, and then I am going to paint some little teeny ridges on my carrot there to kind of give it a little bit of dimension. Now after I dry those, I go back over with the orange paint to kind of make them look a little bit faded, so that way they weren't so stark and obvious. Now I just go back in and I'm just using some hot glue to glue on the eyes and the mouth. I like to lay it out before I glue it so I have an idea of where I'm going and make sure everything is spaced right and looks good. And then again, this part I just do with hot glue and it goes rather quickly. So now I just position the nose. I put a little bit of glue along the nose on the back. I did not want that nose to hang over the edge, so I put it right up to the edge there, but I didn't want it to like get broken off. But that's just up to you. If you want to have it hanging over the edge, that would be really cute as well. So now we're just going to tuck some little foliage into this snowman's cute little hat here. And I'm just using a combination of like little spare parts, if you will, that I have from different picks. So I have like some lamb's ear. There's a little bit of the boxwood. Those both came from Walmart. These berry picks came from Dollar Tree. And then I have this little evergreen that I think it came on a plant that my mom gave me. I don't know. It came from somewhere, but I just got a bunch of little things. When you're doing a little hat like this that you want some variety, you don't have to have like one whole pick. Just use your spare parts, what you've got, and that works great. And I decided to have some glued kind of up towards the top of his hat and some kind of coming down. So when I put that ribbon band on, it looks like some's peeking out below. And I just used some hot glue to put that on the back. This ribbon just came from Dollar Tree. I love this cute little gingham ribbon. And as you see, I'm just going to flatten that down on the back there. Now I'm going to do a cute little bow here. I just tied a couple loops on a little bow there and put a zip tie in the middle to put on his hat. And I thought that bow looked really cute. Now, of course, if a bow is not your style, do not put a bow on there. I had someone comment in my last video that asked if I had to put a bow on everything. Yes, I do have to put a bow on everything because that's what I like. It might be impossible for me to not put one on there. If it's not your style and you're making this, please make it to how you like it. Now, I'm just taking a little bit of the leftover black paint in my brush and just kind of dry brushing the edges. I wanted to give this a little bit of dimension, and I really like the way that it looked on the nose to kind of help that pop. Now you can go as light or as heavy as you like on this. I don't really consider this like distressing. I feel like this is just more giving it a little bit of dimension. It looked kind of flat with just the white paint there. And then here I take the white that's left over in my brush, and I'm going to go over all of the black parts here. So just over the edges of his hat. Kind of looked a little bit like it was frosted there. And then I really like the look going over the little round discs here. It really did make those pop against that black against the white there, the edges. It just kind of gave it just a really good dimension, and I really loved it. I think this turns out absolutely darling. What do you guys think of him? Would you put him on one of your shelves for this Christmas season? I just love him, and I really feel like snowmen are just the essence of winter and Christmas, and it is something that you can make as Christmassy as you want, but they can also stay up all winter long.
For my papier-mâché snowman, I'm going to start with this ornament from Dollar Tree. He is so cute, and I love that he is already in the shape of a snowman. If you don't have him, you could easily stack 3 styrofoam balls together to do this process with. I have him, and he works perfect. We're just going to give him an upgrade. So I'm taking some paper towels. I just ripped them into strips, and then I'm going to take all of the little doodads off of the snowman. I'm going to set them aside in case I want to use any of them later, which I do come back and use some of them. Now I'm taking some Mod Podge and some water and watering this down. I have heard that just regular like white school glue works as well. You just want it to be very liquefied, so that's why I'm adding the water to it. Now with that solution, I'll take my strips of paper towels, and I'm just going to make sure that I get these all covering the styrofoam here. All the research that I've done on papier-mâché, everybody starts with a base layer here of something similar to paper towels or napkins. I'm thinking it's to give your whatever you use for your papier-mâché, it gives it something to adhere to rather than just the styrofoam. And so this is just a nice foundation to start with. So you can see I'm just pushing into the little ridges of the snowman. If you had 3 separate balls making up your snowman, you would do the same thing there. So I'm just going to show you another strip. You do want these to overlap because you want full coverage with these. I've seen some take and do like 2 different layers that let one layer dry and then go back in and do another. I did not do that. I just made sure that I was really good on getting the coverage that I needed all the way around my form here. So you're completely saturating this paper towel with your glue solution that you have. I am trying to straighten out any wrinkles that are obvious wrinkles. It's fine to have a few. In fact, it adds a little bit of character depending on what you end up using for your paper mache that goes over this, but I just wanted it to be as straight as I could within reason. Once you've got your layer of paper towels, you want to let that completely dry. Be careful using a heat tool because you are using styrofoam. You don't want to melt the styrofoam. So just be cautious with what you're using to let it dry. I just let mine sit out for about a half an hour and it was completely dry. Now I'm going to make some arms for our little snowman here. So I'm just using some craft paper. This is just like that craft wrapping paper. You can buy it at Dollar Tree, paper bag type of material. But you could also use tin foil, which I think tin foil might be a little bit easier. This is just what I had in my studio at the moment, and so I thought I'd see if I could make it work, and it did end up working. So I'm just creating a little arm to go on his body here. I'll spin him around to decide where I want the front, what looks the best place for his face and everything. And then I'm just going to kind of dry fit that little arm there until I know where I want it. And then just using a little bit of hot glue, you will glue this to your snowman here. One thing to note is that since I am using paper to construct my arms out of, I don't have to do another layer of the paper towels over them. If you're using something like tin foil or something slick like that, I would suggest using a little bit more paper towel in that glue solution to place over those. That way you're going to not have any problem with slippage or anything like that. Now I did just glue that arm down completely to the body. I wanted that arm resting. I'm going to take a little bit of wire here because I thought it would be so cute to have this little snowman waving at his other little snowman buddies. And so I'm getting that wire so I can use it as the form to have his arm up high. So I just kind of tried to get a natural bend to it so it looks like it's his elbow and his arm's going to be up high. And I just cut that wire down to size. Now tinfoil would work just fine for that, and then you wouldn't have to use the paper with the wire. This is just what I had and what I was using, so I just kind of went with it. I'm going to wrap this craft paper around that wire. I don't want an abnormally long arm, so I'm trying to do my best at sizing how big I want the arm or how long I want the arm, and I'm just going to cut it down to size if I need to, but then using hot glue, I will just make sure this paper is glued to that wire so that way it's going to stay firm. Since our form is styrofoam, this is just going to be really easy to poke this arm in there and have that in place. You'll use just a little bit of glue to make sure that it is completely hooked to the body. And then I also put a little bit where his palm of his hand would be. So that way the paper is all together there. So you can kind of get an idea here of the cute little form of our snowman. It looks like he's waving. Already I think he just looks so cute. Now we're going to go make some of the magic happen. This is a papier-mâché product called Celluclay. You buy it on Amazon, and it is essentially paper powder. So it's just kind of made from recycled paper, it says on here, and it's just kind of like a fine dust of paper that is very compacted in this container. I've never seen anything like this. I've never used it. So we're just going to give it a try. We're all about trying new things here. So if you have a different technique or something else that you use for your paper mache, you could skip this step and just move on to whatever it is that you use, or you could even use like modeling clay or some air dry clay or cloud dough clay, something like that. But I will say that the paper mache texture you get is unmatched. It is just beautiful in the end. So I've scooped a couple scoops of this paper mache medium out, and I'm just adding some water to it, and I will start to just kind of mix it in. It soaks that water up very quickly, but I ended up not quite using a whole spray bottle's worth of water. I just have this little leftover, like this is from a Costco meal tin here that I use. It was perfect to mix this up in and have, because you'll just want something that you can either use for this again or throw away once it's all done. I did learn that you could add a little bit of lotion to this to help it not be so sticky. You'll see it kind of stick to my fingers, and it was kind of annoying at first, but I just kind of went with it. So I apologize that my fingers will be kind of covered in this clay. We'll just call it paper mache clay moving forward from this point, because that's kind of what you're creating, is a paper mache clay. However, I did learn that you could add some lotion so that way it wouldn't stick to your fingers quite like it sticks to mine. You can see how it's sticking to mine there. Since this is my very first time, I just kind of went with it and thought, okay, we'll just go with it and see how it goes. I mean, at some point I really was thinking I'm going to end up scrapping this because it's going to be an absolute nightmare. But each step, when I finished each step, everything kept looking good. So I just kept moving forward with it. So that added that term of trust the process. This was definitely one of those things where I had to just have faith and trust the process, and it worked out. So you can see here, I'm just going to mold this papier-mâché clay over the form of my snowman here, just kind of working over his arm and everything that we created there, and just kind of smoothing it out as I go. And if I needed to spray it with my spray bottle, I would do that to add a little moisture to smooth it a little bit more. It doesn't smooth it to the point where you can't tell that it's like the papier-mâché texture. That texture still, when it dries, still holds and is so beautiful and so fun. But just carefully going all over the entire snowman here, front to back. I worked top to bottom, and then I'll show you his waving arm in just a second how I did that. But just kind of placing a little patch of the clay on there, smoothing it out with my finger. If I felt like there was an area that I had already worked on, I would smooth that out as well if it needed it. So you can see this arm, I'm just putting that clay right over that paper there. And then as I do some final smoothing, I will kind of define that arm just a little bit more. To do our snowman's waving arm, I'm just taking a chunk of this clay here and I'm just going to flatten it out, and then I will just wrap it around the arm there. I just make it flat enough that it will go around the entire arm, and then just start pushing. I'll tear some of the excess off and just keep molding that papier-mâché clay to that arm form, and then tearing any excess off, and then just making sure I add a little bit onto the end as well for his little hand there. I didn't define like mittens or anything like that. I'm still very new to this process, and I felt like that was a little bit above my pay grade at this time, so I just kind of left them like they were blank snowman arms. You can see I'm using a paintbrush here to help get the definition between the three balls of snow that make up the body of the snowman, and then I even use it to kind of detail his arm a little bit to kind of give that a little bit more form. I'm sure if you had some clay tools, those would work great. I don't own clay tools, so I was just working with what I had, but I can see if this is something that you were going to start doing more of, that you would definitely want to invest in some of the actual clay tools to help you out. So now that I've got him completely covered, just spritzing with a little bit of that mister water there, using my finger to kind of smooth over, getting rid of any like super obvious lumps. I mean, you'll have a little bit of texture, but if there was something that looked out of place or anything like that, or felt like it was kind of bulky, I would just take a little bit of time and smooth that out. I absolutely love the cute little cheeks on the primitive papier-mâché characters that you see, and so I made a couple little balls of this clay here from the papier-mâché clay and put them kind of where I was just kind of eyeballing where his cheeks would be. And I made 2 of those to put on each side, and so that way when I paint his face, you've got those raised cheek details, so it looks kind of silly right here. And in fact, I really had to trust the process here because I was like, I don't know how this looks, but this is just a little Cricut weeding tool. Again, like I said, I don't have clay tools, so I was using what I had, and this worked out really well here. I'm just kind of smoothing it out. This helps to make sure that the little ball of clay for his cheek will adhere to his face, but it also makes it look smooth and cohesive. So I just do this process on both cheeks. After letting this sit overnight, it recommends like 12 to 24 hours. You just want to make sure that your clay is completely dry. You can go in and paint him. I have a couple other projects here that I'm working on. You can see in the frame that will not be in this video. It will be in another vintage Christmas video that I have coming up. So I apologize that I painted them all together, so you kind of got a sneak peek there. But this little guy here, just gave him a couple coats of paint so he was all white. Now I got a little excited with this one. I ended up not like grunging this one up like you see, or aging it a little bit. So this is the point where if you wanted him to look aged, you would spray a little bit of like coffee spray or a little bit of watered down antiquing wax to kind of age him a little bit. But in the end, even pristine white, he still looks so cute. So you could see I painted his little carrot nose that came with him just a little bit less of a fluorescent color of orange that was already on him. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of pink paint. I put a little white in it to help mute it down and paint his little cheeks. And then I will go over it with just what was left in my brush from when I painted him to tone those down a little bit. But already, I mean, oh my gosh, he's so cute. I just love how he turns out. So now comes the part of sticking his nose in. So I just used my little weeding tool there to poke a little pilot hole in there, so that way I could easily put that carrot nose back in. Now I do use just a little bit of hot glue. You could use some E6000 super glue, something, but you definitely want some type of glue to make that nose permanent in there. Now comes the really scary part of painting the face on, and I was very nervous for this. If you guys have watched me freehand things before, you know that I feel like I don't do the greatest job. He turns out okay though, so spoiler alert, he turns out okay. But it was very nerve-wracking. Though I just used the end of my brush. If you had like a dotting tool that you use, that would work as well. But I was just again using what I had and just kind of making his eyes round. I wanted them to be a little bit bigger because I wanted to add a little bit of catch lights in them. But you can just see here I have this little pen. This is kind of like a really fine point Sharpie that I did a couple little eyebrows with. And then I went back on the corners of the eyes and made a couple little lashes coming off to kind of give a little more detail to his eyes. So he's looking so cute right here. I thought I would just stop and show you what he's looking like so far. Now at the end of my weeding tool, I am just with such precision here taking a little bit of white paint and adding a couple little dots in his eyes to look like catch lights in there, just to give him a little bit more of a personality. Totally optional, but you can see once that's done how cute he's looking. So now we get to move on to his smile and give him a cute little smile. So I started with that pen that I had and just kind of, you could even start with a pencil if you wanted to start really light. The nice thing is you can still paint white over this if you totally mess it up, but I did pretty good, I feel like, and got a smile between the two cheeks. And then I even did some cute little creases. I went back in with a little bit of paint on the end of this pen here, which probably ruined my pen, but I felt like it needed to be a little bit darker, but it was the only thing I dared use rather than a paintbrush because I was just really not wanting to mess him up, but it ended up pretty cute. So I'm just using a little bit of Mod Podge here, and we're going to go over the entire thing. I did work in two sections. I did the top half and then the bottom half, but we're going to give him some glistening snow. This is just some snow and an ornament that I have, but you could just buy any kind of iridescent snow on Amazon, Walmart, anywhere. Just something that's going to give him this glistening snow look. I just love it. I know glitter is not everybody's thing, but I really feel like with these little figures here, you need it to make them sparkle and shine like they are just covered in snow. You can see on his palm here, I just wanted to make sure I got on the inside of that waving arm. So I just put a little bit of glue there, Mod Podge, and then just sprinkled a little bit of the glitter. So that way he was completely covered from head to toe. Now he needs a cute little top hat. And so what I did is just got some of the air dry clay here. Use whatever you've got that you can use. And I just got a couple little pieces off here, and I'm just going to roll one out to be the brim of the hat. Now I had no idea what I was doing when I did this, but it ended up working out pretty good. So I'll just walk you through what I did. I just got a little box cutter here to cut out a sort of circle. I'm not going to embarrass myself and say that it is a circle because it does not look like a circle at all, but it resembles the brim of a hat. But again, you don't have to be exact. These are supposed to be kind of rustic and primitive looking. And so, which is nice to be able to have that flexibility. And so I'm just going to take my cute little hat here and just kind of make the edge not look like it's so crisp. because I wanted to look kind of like a little bit of a floppy brim. So I'll just go around and kind of work and manipulate that in my fingers until it becomes kind of like the desired shape and the desired consistency that I want. Now for the top part of this little snowman's top hat, I wanted a really tall hat to go on him, kind of like a tall, skinny hat. I looked online for some inspiration and I just really liked the look of that style of top hat. So I'm just getting like literally a hunk of clay here, and I'm just kind of going to roll it if I need to get it as tall as I want it. I wanted it to be very whimsical, so it is not symmetrical at all. It kind of has like this little asymmetrical tilt to the very top of it, but I just thought that would be really fun to kind of do. So use your imagination, have fun with it. I mean, once this dries, if you don't like the way it looks, you can make another one. Super easy peasy. I kind of do a test run with all of the pieces to see if I've got it proportionally how I want it, make sure that it looks good. And then to get these two pieces to adhere to one another, I'm making just a clean cut on the bottom of that top part of the hat. That sounds weird to say, the bottom part of the top part of the hat, but it's correct. And then I just use a little box cutter to kind of break or thrash the clay up there a little bit. So that way when I glue them together, it will have something to adhere to. It gives it, kind of going back to my ceramic days, way back in the day with like high school. I remember that we used to have to do this, and I don't remember the correct term, but I'm using some wood glue is what I'm using to glue these pieces together here, and it works wonderfully. But when you kind of break the clay up like that, it gives the pieces of clay on each piece something to grab onto and makes it more of a one solid piece. And then just using the back side of my weeding tool, I'm going to just kind of smooth it out, make it look like it's one piece rather than a piece glued onto it. And I'll even take my finger and smooth it out here, spray some water on it if you need to kind of moisten up the clay a little bit, and then just making sure there's no cracks or anything like that in that. Now I left this to dry overnight as well, and so it fully dry it, and then you can paint it whatever color you want. I decided to go with classic black for the cute little top hat. I love the contrast of a cute black hat with your snowman. So you can see it looks cute. I kind of thought it would be fun to have it a little bit off kilter. So just play around with it, see what looks good, be as whimsical as you want. This is a little piece of tinsel that I had from a Dollar Tree Christmas tree that I had taken off. So when you use those forms for different things and you take your tinsel off, save it in a bag because you never know when you're going to need a little piece of tinsel. I did kind of trim it up though to make it so it wasn't quite as shaggy. And I did forget to do a couple of buttons on our little snowman here. So I'm doing this over the glitter because it's already glittered. So I'd recommend maybe doing the buttons before that step, but it works out fine. I give him a couple little buttons so that way he's just looks like he's got his little coal there, making him look authentic. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue to glue that tinsel around his neck. You could do a scarf. He had a really cute scarf he came with. I just like that vintage look of the sparkly tinsel. Again, when you get to this point, this is so fun to make it yours, embellish it how you would like it, have it match your decor if you have specific colors you want to use. Mine's very neutral, but you could have a lot of fun at this point. I decided to put a little bit of Mod Podge. I went with a very light layer over the hat and sprinkled a little bit of the glitter on there to also make it look like it was fresh like snow that had fallen on the hat. I thought it was really cute to have it match. And again, that would be a totally optional step too, but I really felt like it added something to it. Now, since this is covered in glitter, you want to cover it with another layer of Mod Podge. That's going to make him so he doesn't shed glitter all over your house. It kind of is that final touch to hold the paint on his face, give it a protective layer. So just cover him completely with Mod Podge. If you wanted to wait and glue your tinsel on till after this part, that would work too. Again, I'm just learning and figuring it all out, and in the end, he turns out great.
So now I use a little bit of E6000 and a little bit of hot glue on the hat, so I get both that temporary, the immediate hold and the permanent hold there. And then I just kind of place this hat how I would like it. Since it's got that little whimsical flair to it, I kind of twist it so I get it into the exact position that I want it. Here he is. Is he not the cutest thing ever? Oh my gosh, I love how he turned out. Now, I did glue him to a little base. This base came off of a one of those little bottle brush Christmas trees. I felt like it helped him have a little bit more stability. Depending on how yours is standing, you may need it, you may not. But I just liked him, especially when you have kids running around all the time. I put so much work into this. I did not want him to have anything happen to him. So I glued him to that base, which works just great. But he is so cute, and I love that texture. This was such a fun process to try. I've never done paper mache anything, and I could not be happier with how he turns out. I would love to know what you guys think of him. You guys are always so good to name my cute little characters. I have some of the funnest names that you guys have sent me for some of my little things I've made before. So let's give this guy a name. I feel like he needs one, and he is just, I mean, Frosty is pretty classic, but I bet you guys can come up with something even cuter than that. He's just so cute. He almost looks like he's getting ready to kind of tilt his hat to you, say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everything like that. I just think this is so fun. I have some more paper mache items coming up in some future videos, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss those. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! I would like to thank you so much for joining me for today's compilation video. I hope that you enjoyed all of these DIYs. If you had a favorite, let me know down in the comments. I always love to hear which ones you guys like the best. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you liked the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.